This is the prophetic picture of where we are right now. Because there's no king physically present, people do what's right in their own eyes. That's why there's no unity. That is why it says in the prophecy in Isaiah that you've spent all your energy, you've done everything, it feels like nothing is accomplished, and even though Israel's not yet gathered, is it a light thing that you should be called to be a servant, to regather the remnant of Israel, and to be a light to the Gentiles? I was sitting in a movie theater on 28th Street in Grand Rapids, Michigan with my girlfriend at that time. We went to see Fiddler on the Roof. Had no idea what it was about. But as the movie began, I remembered being taken upstairs by my grandmother and being shown these pictures of my forefathers, all with their long beards, and her telling the story how that we came from Amsterdam and to the United States, and as a lot of Hollanders did, they ended up in Michigan. We were not that far from Holland, Michigan, right at the time, about 20 miles, and I think they found the wettest lowlands they could find in America, just like where they came from. And it was there, watching that movie, that I was seeing my ancestors. I was seeing a world that I was not brought up in. I was brought up in the Baptist church. My mother was a Christian. My father didn't darken the doorstep of a church for decades, but I remember, the life-changing event it was for him to first step into the church, and it turned his life around to where he became the Sunday school superintendent, and then he went to Grand Rapids Baptist Bible College to learn Hebrew, because our ancestors, my father's side of the family is Jewish, but we were so far removed from Orthodox Judaism, even though, it was my ancestors that started the first Ashkenazi synagogue in their home in Amsterdam. Michael Rood, he was a cantor, and Michael Rood was the one that built all the synagogues. He's an architect, but built many buildings that I've visited in Amsterdam. And my son was going to be named Isaac Michael, as a matter of fact, because I couldn't resist having a son named I Am Rood. And fortunately, I have 4 daughters, and so I never put that nomenclature upon a son to have to live through that. But it was while I was watching that movie, and in that opening scene where they're gathered around the table for the Sabbath, and when they're praying, and as it faded to black, and that violin just trailed off, I sat there and I wept. And I realized that this is something that I have missed my whole life. There's something here. And I couldn't explain it. I'm 17 years old. I'm really now a serious student of the scriptures. And it just began to change things. And when the intermission came, I remember Tevye lifting up his hands. It was a destruction, the pogrom beginning, and his daughter's wedding is being ransacked, and he's like lifting his hands to as if to say, "Why, God, why?" And the intermission came, and my girlfriend said, "Want to go out and get some popcorn?" And I just sat there and I said, "No." I just sat there. I was stunned. It was one of our last times together, because that changed everything to me. This became the most important thing, and that is what started taking me back to I would say, first of all, the Jewish roots of the faith, But, then it developed and got back further than that, to the Hebrew roots of the faith, because Jewish roots of the faith basically is, as everyone knows it today, and what Jewish is today in the land of Israel, where I've lived for the last 20 years, Jewish really is Judaism. It's really a religion. It is ancient Phariseeism. It's proudly, it's not only admitted, it's like, that is the foundation. To be a rabbi, you got to be ordained by a rabbi. That's ordained by a rabbi. It goes back before the first century. Modern day Judaism is ancient Phariseeism, period. And yet I knew there's a difference between what Yeshua's teaching and Judaism. And so that's what began my search right back into the Hebrew roots of the faith. And so it was shortly after that Vietnam was going on. Our pastor was gone. He was a chaplain in Vietnam. Dennis Hopkins, he was a door gunner over there, and his father was my Sunday school teacher. So while Dennis was in Vietnam, and really as a door gunner, I mean, what his job was to rescue, drop in and rescue and lay down suppressing fire, and he really felt that that's what he needed to do. And so, the blood and the guts that he saw in these efforts over there, I was feeding the baby calves on his dad's farm. I was doing all the haying. I was doing all that Dennis was not there to do. And I was getting stronger and stronger. And my marksmanship skills. I mean, I was raised with a gun in my hand, and it was like, okay, this is. I could see that this thing is continuing to go on. Gary Reinhardt, who. He's been wounded in Vietnam. He was in our church. Several people, we had friends and schoolmates coming back in body bags, and I knew I was next. I was about to hit 18. Draft number came up. I knew I'd never get drafted. A lot of people were heading to Canada during those years, getting out of the States. And, finally they were able to get amnesty and come back home, but so many people leaving. But it was at that time that I read the book of Acts. And it's no longer just words on a page. What happens at that point in my life is everything becomes a movie. I'm seeing this movie play out before my eyes, and I realize as I read the book of the Acts that I have never seen this in all my years in church. And I grew up going to church. I was in church every single meeting there was, 6 times a week. We were in 6 different things in church and during the week. And I read this and I realized here are people that walk with the power of God that I've never seen anything like this. And so I began to pray. And then I realized that if I hang around these same church people, the same denomination, that when I'm 70, 80 years old, like the elders, I'll have the same fire, the same power of God in my life that I see in their life. So I left and I never went back. It's like, I could, it talks about in Hebrews about inspecting your education system. Take a look at where the end of this thing is going. And I could see, there's nothing there. So I did the hardest thing I could think of doing. I said, I'm going to join the Marine Corps. And I'm going to make them guarantee, first of all, I will not go unless they guarantee that I go to Parris Island, because I hear that's the hardest. That's the toughest. And I am going to join the infantry. 300 infantrymen, and so that I will go to Vietnam. And so this is how I set out. And in my contract, it literally said in my contract, I made him put it in the contract, and I was the only one that went from Detroit, from the depot there, where we did all our physicals, the IQ test and everything. I was the only one that was flown on a plane down to South Carolina. Everyone else was a Hollywood Marine, went out there. And so, really boot camp was really one of the most exciting adventures in my life. I loved it. And if there's a way I could have done it again, it's like, if you could ever do boot camp over again the first time, that's what I loved it. And, went from there, infantry training, 0341 Mortarman. Oh, I just got the news today that they've taken man away from, it's no longer for the Marine Corps, because they had to make it non-gender, and so now all the terminology has been changed except mortarman. It's not mortar person. It's not mortar marine. It's still mortarman. So I was trained as a mortarman and rifleman. Those are the two things that remain. And I'm an expert rifleman, and had the range record for 2 years for the 8th Marine Regiment, and so. My years of growing up with a rifle, I felt like, okay, this is what I can do. But why I made that deal, I said, I need to put myself in a place where the dead can be raised, where miracles can happen. Because in my world, nothing's going to happen. I need to get outside of my world and put myself in a situation where if the dead can be raised, okay, I will do it. I may die, but it's like, okay, other people do this. I am going to go for this, and I'm going to do it for God Almighty. And so after advanced infantry training, we sat in Santa Ana for 2 weeks waiting for orders, and that is the exact time that Nixon called the commandant and said no more Marines are going. We weren't being rotated in anymore. It was still going to take 2 more years, more than 2 years before the war ended at that point. But and so I ended up on a different course altogether. And Marine, first of all, guarding nuclear weapons down at Cecil Field. I can say it now because the base has been completely dismantled at this point. But that was my job down there, is guarding nuclear weapons, transporting them, convoy, etc. And so, I've been around nukes a lot and know a lot about nukes because, we were riding on the truck with them. And we were ready to rock and roll, if anyone tries to take these things from us. And fortunately, no one did. And then from there, I went to Marine Security Guard Battalion, which is a embassy duty. And then finally, my last 2 years in the Marines were at Camp Lejeune. And because of a miracle that transpired while I was on a Navy ship, the USS Francis Marion, the chaplain said that what happened because of that revival that transpired on that ship, and I really tell the whole story in when they did my testimony, Michael Rood Exposed, the Confessions of a Cult Leader. And I get to tell more of the story there, but because of the revival that broke out on that ship, the Navy chaplains who conducted the baptism when we got ashore said that, and this is in one of the islands, out in some nondescript island that Marines attack and invade out in the Caribbean. And when we got there, they said it was the largest peacetime baptism that had taken place. I mean, because they take records of all these things. Says it's the largest peacetime baptism that has ever been done. See, in combat, everyone gets baptized, just in case, just before you invade Guadalcanal, that, 3/4 of the people are going to be dead, so everyone makes sure. But this is because of a real repentance that was happening and a turning around. And so when I got back to the 8th Marine Regiment, it wasn't long. I worked in a battalion S3 intelligence for a while, and but then the base chaplain got a hold of me, and it was really a divine connection that put us together. He went to the base colonel and said, I want Rood as my assistant. And so they pulled me out of Battalion S2, out of intelligence, and put me over there, and over at the base chapel. And that was Wayne Niederhuth, Commander Wayne Niederhuth. The Navy is the one who supplies all the chaplains for the Marines. And so basically my job for the last 2 years that I was in the Marine Corps was to teach the Bible. Right out in the billboard at the front of the chapel, it said when the services were, that I led the services, Wayne taught, but also my apartment, 626 Beecham's Apartments, the fellowship that happens every single night. And it was just, we literally ran through hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Marines that were part of classes that I did, and really, discipling people. And, whereas before I started out a little bit with the navigators, but, the navigators was fine. A lot of scripture memory and all, but we really got into some deep things in the scripture, and it really turned things upside down. And that is when I knew that, they offered me another promotion. I had, I was a sergeant in a little over 3 years, and usually, unless you're in combat, you don't make sergeant in 3 years. But I was offered staff sergeant, and I said, no, I really believe that I need to go in the ministry. That's where I'm going. And so that was the end of that. And after that, so many years, I really, I desired so much to be back in. As a matter of fact, I was going to join the tank unit when I was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I knew, because it was like ground pounding, okay, get me inside of a tank, the electronics and everything. I thought, instead of lugging around a mortar, a 105, 155 howitzer, it'd be a lot more fun in a tank. And then Hugo, the hurricane, hit Charlotte, North Carolina. Well, the next day I started a construction company and started rebuilding people's homes. And by the time we were through with it, over a year later, I had passed the age of going in. And maybe thankfully, because that was the tank unit that invaded Iraq. And I would have been in that unit invading Iraq when, the first situation with all the Gulf War syndrome and all that stuff was taking place from the chemicals and from what these tanks were launching and all. So that that in a quick nutshell.
As the Feast of Tabernacles approached, a village of Samaritans refused to listen to Yeshua because they wanted to do the Feast of Tabernacles their own way. Yeshua left the village to set an example that he would only do the will of his Father, regardless of who, if anyone, would follow. Like Yeshua did, we are to do things only the way our Father in heaven prescribes. We need to give up our own ways and follow him.
And see, those who don't know the Father and don't do his will, those who make up their own religious system, they will never hear the words of Yeshua. They won't even be important to him.
It's time to prepare your heart for the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles. Michael Rood would like to bless you with this new teaching as a love gift for your donation in November. The Feast of Tabernacles is not for sale, and it's not on YouTube. The only way you can get it is with your love gift donation in November. Own this teaching right now when you donate $50 or more. Or donate $100 or more to get this new teaching and this handsome blessing parchment. Inscribed in both English and Hebrew, this blessing is a decorative reminder from the Torah that you are loved.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
Get the blessing parchment now, plus the Day of Tabernacles teaching, episode 11 of Michael Rood's 20-episode Love Gift Teaching series.
The latter rain will be part of the intermediate fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. Yeshua fulfilled the spring feast. He interpreted the fall feast. He fulfilled the spring feast as a suffering servant. He interpreted the fall feast. Yom Teruah, the last day and the resurrection, I will raise them up.
This offer is only available in November. Make your love gift donation now, online or by phone. Thank you for your support.
Israel is really the center of planet Earth as far as God's plan. And he called the people out. Then at the time that they were in Egypt, he called them out, and a mixed multitude came out of Egypt. The numbers would preclude it all being the 12 sons of Israel and their offspring. But it says there's a mixed multitude that came out. He brought them to the mountain. He shouted down his commandments. And then later Moses went up into the mountain, received more commandments, and the tables of stone brought them back. And Israel was told that if they will keep his commandments, they would be a kingdom of priests. They would be a royal priesthood. They would be his chosen people and his protected treasure, as it speaks of it, Segula in Hebrew. And these were the people that God revealed his commandments to, and they were the ones, as it says in the Psalms, that he divided the nations according to the number of the sons of Israel. Now, this is speaking of a time that dividing the nations, this is the Tower of Babel. And the sons of Israel were not going to be born for hundreds of years, but yet he divided up the one world empire of Nimrod and confused their languages because he was choosing a people that would be his representatives to get to reconcile the world back to him. Not under a novus ordo seclorum, a new world order, not under an atheist government, not under a government that worships men, which is Nimrod's government, but under the government of Almighty God, that his rules are what stands. And Israel is that nation. The prophecies that we have concerning Israel and what would transpire, what Moses laid out, specifically what would transpire to this nation and what would happen in the last times, what Isaiah, Jeremiah, what they declared, and Israel being dispersed and the last days being brought back in. This is all part of the plan of the Almighty for planet Earth. And Israel is that nation. These are those people. Now, Israel's been scattered all over the face of the earth. The 10 northern tribes, Judah and Benjamin, the Jews, have been scattered all over the earth, now being brought back together. But there's still more Jews in New York City than there are in the whole land of Israel. I mean, we're still scattered all over the world at this point. But there's a war coming. This has been prophesied. We see this. Joel speaks of this invading army that before them it's like the Garden of Eden behind them, and it's a smoldering wasteland. It is that time that the sun will be darkened, the moon turned to blood, because it's an atmospheric event, just the destruction, the death in the land of Israel, and there is no hope for the salvation of Israel at all. Israel will run out of options. And I'm afraid that what is transpiring in this country right now, I saw that there's only one person that really stood up for godly principles, that you could go right back to the founding of this country and say, okay, these are the principles, this is the morality upon which this nation was founded. This is the one person that is espousing this, but there's no way that Ted Cruz would ever be allowed to be in that position. The media is not going to allow it, because the people that control the media, et cetera, all the way down. And because people say, and I could easily say, well, he doesn't make friends. He hasn't made good friends with the rest of the congressmen. Why? Because he's taken a stand for that which is right. He took a stand that nobody else is willing to do. He's got a backbone. His father's a pastor. Father's a pastor, say the foundation of this nation was the Torah. I mean, this is his father saying it's the Torah. He's not saying it's the Pentateuch. He's not using even Gentile terms. He says it's the Torah. That's the foundation upon which the entire jurisprudence system in America is built. A representative form of government, it's all right there in the Torah. And in this one person, it was just quickly discarded. And then we saw the media, make every, my goodness, what they are doing with both Trump and Clinton. We are all being manipulated. You watch the late night talk shows, because I've gone on to see what they're saying, and they are all on the same jag. Everything's the same. America is going to end up with the leader that they deserve, the king they deserve. And what's going to happen is that this is all going to turn around in America is, as we've seen, that what has happened in the last administration is that the Muslims have been completely empowered by every act of the government, And I go right back to the very beginning, before Obama came in. his advisors, he said he wanted to pull out. All the military advisors said, do not give a date. Do not give a date, because they know what's going to happen. What did he do? The first thing, he went down and bowed to Muslim kings, and then he gave a date. Exactly what every advisor told him not to do. Why did he do that? Because now everyone just lays back. We left, and this is just in Humvees. Now this isn't a civilian Hummer. Okay, this is my uncle, as a matter of fact. Uncle Butch was the one that invented and built the first 2 Hummers for civilian use, and they were sold to Schwarzenegger. Okay, but this is my uncle was the one that designed this machine. Okay, he was one of the engineers on this, and we left behind 23 Humvees. These are 50 caliber machine guns on them mounted. Everything is set to go. 2,300 of these things we left, and we told them when we're leaving, we left behind the equipment, and when we left, guess what? ISIS. Where did ISIS come from? Oh, ISIS, this was planned from the beginning. That's why Obama gave them 23 Humvees, because now they can exterminate, and that's why they're out there just running roughshod over everyone. They just plain took over. And so we completely destabilized this thing. Why? Because this is the plan of the Almighty. Every nation is going to come against Israel. And the only nation that even has any vested interest in standing with Israel has been the United States, and everything we've done politically, economically, is to destroy that relationship and to empower all of Israel's enemies. And so we have stepped on the other side of the line. We are now standing against God's people, against the land, that this is God's land. These are God's people. We are to support them, to stand with them. We will be blessed if we bless them. We will be cursed if we curse them. We are coming under a curse that is going to be the 2008 market dump is going to be a picnic in the park compared to what's about to happen.
Michael Rood's message of truth is broadcast all over the world, but none of it happens without the monthly financial support of our Ambassador Club members. And right now, membership has more benefits than ever.
I'm giving into a ministry that is helping to feed other people that have the same hunger that I do.
The Ambassador Club stands out to me because Michael brings it forth with such zeal and life and truth. Who in the world else you gonna give to get the truth out and to share it with the world?
The Ambassador Club, we were given the opportunity on a monthly basis to know that we are giving our funds to a purpose that would make a difference, not only in our lives, but those around about us and in our world.
We're an ambassador because we feel like we're helping the world in a small way. And we feel so blessed that we could be a part of that.
Join now, and Michael Rood will send you the Ambassador Club Welcome Kit, an exclusive messenger bag stocked with teaching DVDs, Red Sea crossing cards to spread the word, and more. You'll also receive ambassador-only bonus gifts whenever you make a separate donation to receive the monthly love gift from A Rood Awakening International. Best of all, you'll get ambassador-only sale prices in our online bookstore several times throughout the year. Plus, exclusive invitations to Ambassador Club functions at A Rood Awakening events. Join the Ambassador Club right now. All it takes is a modest commitment of $100 per month or an annual gift of $1,200. We'll send your welcome kit right away, and you can start enjoying your love gift bonus items immediately. Call now or visit the A Rood Awakening website to join the Ambassador Club.
This spring, Nehemiah and I got together over in Jerusalem. We had a cup of coffee that lasted for 4 hours. I said, "You got to get to Charlotte. We need to do some stuff together." And it wasn't just the 8 hours that we spent on camera doing teachings for Shabbat Night Live together with some groundbreaking stuff, but it's what happened all morning leading up to that. It's as soon as we bailed out of here and went back home and spending all night, just the 8 hours and then 3 more hours of Q&A. That was microscopic compared to what we got into. One of the things that we touched on was this whole Shemitah thing that people are out there hooting and hollering about and trying to make some prophetic sense out of something that has nothing to do with anything outside of the land of Israel. And as Nehemiah laid it out, because this is a man that it reads the original Hebrew text in Hebrew handwriting. He's reading volumes that will never be translated into English, and he knows the background on this and the calendar systems and all. And that's why we worked together for the last, my goodness, close to 20 years, 18 years now on the biblical calendar, and that's what we publish here. He doesn't publish that calendar, but even the Orthodox, the Israeli New Moon Society, they get my calendar. They know what's in this thing. And they also know the charts that I put in the back of this thing concerning the prophetic timing of things. But let me say this. This is the conclusion. Because there's no jubilees that are ever calculated in this, any Shemitah calculation is wrong. And there are so many people that have different Shemitah calculations, when it should be, would be, could be, and all. And even the rabbis, when they put it together in 1952, the first Shemitah on the land after we came back into the land, there is nothing that anyone can say that this is when it should be. It just can't be calculated. And anyone can use, points in history and say, well, you can find something that happens in the world. I mean, every year things happen in the world. But as Nehemiah and I talked about that, I said, has not the Almighty shown us when his jubilees are? That's my question. 1917, General Allenby comes into Jerusalem basically without firing a shot. He takes Jerusalem. How does he do it? Silver birds fly over the land with a letter in Arabic from Allenby, which is in Arabic close to Allah. Allenby, Allah. So the Arabs, they lay down their arms. The gate is broken open right beside Jaffa Gate. He makes his triumphal entry into Jerusalem because Allah has sent a message for them to surrender. So in 1917, Jerusalem is taken. Goes back into the hands, okay? We're moving to get it back into the hands of the original owners, and that's what the Jubilee is all about. The land goes back to the original owners. That's why Israel never kept a Jubilee. For 490 years, we never kept the Sabbath year. That's why we owed 70 years in exile in Babylon, so that the land could rest. While we're in Babylon, we didn't let the land rest. No, it's not a requirement. It's the promised land that must rest, period. It's not America. It's not Germany. That's all nonsense. It's all prophetic nonsense that they're stealing one from another to try to make some, write a new book and to make a splash. No, it's pure nonsense. It's a lie. It is required for the land of Israel. But we didn't keep the Sabbath year, and we didn't keep the Jubilees years, because that requires the land going back to the original owner, and that's much more difficult than just having a Sabbath year, okay, and having a year of release. We didn't do that. We never did it right. So has the Almighty not shown us? 1917, Allenby takes Jerusalem. 50 years later, a Jubilee cycle later, we have Israel takes Jerusalem. Gets the Temple Mount. But what did they do? Turn the Temple Mount back over, as a gesture of peace, trying to make everybody happy. What a mistake that was. And because, and now we've got the infidels up on the Temple Mount, just, praying to a fictitious moon god and causing nothing but trouble. And should have just shipped them all back to Mecca at that point, where they say they came from. But anyway, then what is the next Jubilee cycle? 2017. 2017. Now, this prophecy in Daniel, this 77th prophecy, I see that fulfilled on 3 layers. First of all, Yeshua's ministry was 70 weeks, 490 days. And this is something that couldn't even be known until this generation, not until they put literally mirrors on the moon. We could track the lunations and go back and forth in time and find the beginning of the month. That way we can find the feast. And since the Julian calendar providentially was put in place 42 years before Yeshua was born, and that is still the time clock of astrophysics today, that hasn't changed any. You know, the Julian calendar is simply the calendar of commerce, but the Julian calendar goes back way before then, and it's a decimal point time clock, which is accurate to a 10 millionth of a day. And that was the calendar that was put in place before Yeshua was born. And so we can track and we can find out exactly when the feast started during Yeshua's time. And so we know how long his ministry was until Eusebius in the 4th century changed it after more than 300 years of continual and uninterrupted confession that his ministry was about 1 year. Well, he came up with a whole new brainstorm to try to fulfill Daniel's prophecy, to make all prophecy fulfilled and the Torah extinguished and all. And so that's what he did. And Rome adapted it. Rome taught it to her daughters. And so that's why we all ended up with a 3.5-year ministry, because of one kook, one heretic in the 4th century, the bishop of Constantine. And so once that was figured out, we could see the second layer, but then I said there is a third layer. And that third layer, this is what we look for. By the way, 1948, Israel becomes a nation in one day, which is, that is the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy. It's never been heard of before. 1800 hours, Washington, D.C. time, which was 12 midnight, May 15th, 1948, which was the 7th Sabbath of the counting of the Omer on the original biblical calendar, not the modern rabbinic calendar, but on the original calendar. Israel becomes a nation in one day, fulfilling Isaiah's prophecy. You go 70 years from then, and where do we come to? 2017. You know, we have so many things that have been pointing to this, and 2017 is, I put several years ago, this is the next possibility for the confirmation of the covenant. And this is why this is important. It was 20 years ago that I did the Great Secret of Solomon's Temple. In that 2.5 hours, I spoke words that were by revelation, that it took years for everything to be confirmed, and then I finally spoke that message out. And even though they tried to keep me from saying it because it contradicted something that Stan Johnson had been preaching and teaching before, I knew that this was exactly what I was commissioned to speak, and that I had to violate his request for me not to teach this, and I had to go against him. And I wrote to him, and I said, I'll obey your wishes as far as my carcass and my conscience will allow, referring to the prophecy of the prophet back in 1 Kings. And so I taught it, and I preached it harder than ever, and finally, when it was recorded that night, Stan put me in the car to take me back to the hotel, and he said, I appreciate that you did not embarrass me. See, I taught something the opposite of what he was teaching, but I didn't do it in a way to do anything to make it that it would embarrass him. It's just, this is what I've been given by the Almighty. When he told me not to, I knew that the next night I could be gone, that I wouldn't be on the Prophecy Club. But I said, if I can't speak this, if I don't speak this, this is why I am here. And if I can't speak this, then this is of no use, and the Almighty will have to open up another door. What that is the confirmation of the covenant. That is the next, I would say, the most major thing on the upcoming prophetic calendar, the confirmation of the covenant. because that is dealing with the testimony that is in the earth that John speaks of. The testimony of the blood and the water. And these three things bear record. The Spirit, the blood, and the water that bear record in the earth. These things which are in the earth, which is the testimony, which is dealing with the Ark of the Covenant. Where the Ark of the Covenant was hidden, what happened at the time of the crucifixion, and what will be done to confirm that covenant, which is set for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur 2017, I've said for years, is the next time that this could happen. But what is going to happen, if this is true, this year, is that we are going to see on Tishri 1, the Day of Trumpets, we are going to see it's going to result in thermonuclear war in the land of Israel. 2/3 of the people in the land of Israel will be dead. This is Joel's war. This is when the sun will be turned to blood, into darkness, the moon into blood, because of this war. This is the Isaiah 49, that Zion will cry out, we've been forgotten by the Almighty. He says, no, a mother may forget her sucking child, the one nursing on her breast right now, but I'm not going to forget you. I have tattooed you. I've engraven you on the palms of my hands. And he says that he is going to turn that army back. He's going to utterly destroy them, that the stench of their rotting bodies is going to go into heaven, and he will deliver his people at the last moment. And when that happens, even though 2/3 of the people in the land of Israel are dead, but yet we are going to see Israel then gathered from the nations, brought in from the nations, and the people said, we've lost all these children, but where are these coming from? I mean, Isaiah saw this very time. And these people are coming in, they say, the room, there's not enough room for us. And it says, no, you've got room, because I've driven your enemy afar off. You've got all the land to the Euphrates River. You've got all the land to Nile. You've got the Saudi Peninsula, where your footprints are etched in stone, the title deed to the land spread out. And then it says that even more come and more come. And Israel says, where are these coming from? Who brought these children up? And now they're all coming back into the land. Where are they coming from? And it says, look, as Yehovah lives, I will have the Gentiles bring their sons and their daughters on their shoulders. They're coming to the land. This is all after this war, this existential war that even the United States of America is setting up for the world. I saw a young, not almost a teenager wearing a shirt and said Obama on it. And it's just been going through my mind. I want to say, you want to take that and don't wear it all the time, because you want to put it under glass, because this will be a museum piece one day, because this is the man that brought about World War III. This is a man that destroyed all morality in America and is now setting the stage for World War III. And the deception is that sane people voted for him. And see, this is going to be the real thing, because, a lot of people had to be deceived in order for this to happen. For him to go. And now we've got Hillary Clinton, her only government job she was fired from the U.S. government because they said that she is a liar. She has only her own personal interest at stake. She is bad. This is an evil person. And they fired her from her only paid government job. Oh, goodness. I mean, and what she has done, and just, finally it's come out. The whole timeline has come out in the report. Benghazi because she's trying to cover herself. And Obama, the two of them lying to the entire nation, saying that a YouTube video incited this thing, and this is what she's saying. And at the same time, she tells her daughter Chelsea it's a terrorist attack. Has nothing to do with the video. She tells other leaders, and they've got it all on record now. She's telling them, don't pay attention to that. That's what we're telling the American public. Don't pay attention. It was a terrorist attack. This woman is the most deceptive, lying witch on the planet. Oh, speaking of which, while she was in the White House, she said that with her, the sex pervert husband of hers, what she said is that she contacted through mediums the Eleanor Roosevelt, who gave her advice. I mean, this woman is a witch. She's dealing with demonic spirits, impersonating Eleanor Roosevelt and getting her information. See, this is the kind of person that America is getting ready to elect. You know, Donald Trump is the big thing. Everything was great, everything, but then you saw the whole media turn. It's all turning to turn him into a fool. But you take a look at what he said years and years and years ago, is that, you know, he really didn't want, he wasn't looking for this job. He didn't want it. But people were baiting him years and years ago about this thing because, somebody's got to do something sane in this country. And so, all he had to do is, trip over a shoelace and he was front page news. He didn't have to spend anything, basically, for news media, but now you see the whole news media, he's nothing but a fool. I think we're about to see America get the leader they deserve. It's going to turn this whole thing in a very short amount of time, because as soon as, Hillary Clinton has already said, what Australia did is right. Get the guns, destroy all the guns, get the guns away from the American people. This is where she's going. This woman is pure evil, probably even more evil than Obama. I don't know, but it's just a closet Muslim, and because Muslims, telling the truth is, there's no such thing as the truth. This is something you learn living in Israel. There's no such thing as a lie. There's no such thing if it advances what you want to do. Doesn't matter. If you have to tell a lie to get someone to buy something, they buy it. Too bad. You believe me. That's it. I mean, that is their code of ethics. They will lie to anything. This man he has done it. So get the t-shirt, put it behind glass, nuclear resistant glass, because one day it is going to be a testimony that this is the man that was put on the stage by the Almighty to give America the leader they deserve.
As the Feast of Tabernacles approached, a village of Samaritans refused to listen to Yeshua because they wanted to do the Feast of Tabernacles their own way. Yeshua left the village to set an example that he would only do the will of his Father, regardless of who, if anyone, would follow. Like Yeshua did, we are to do things only the way our Father in heaven prescribes. We need to give up our own ways and follow him.
And see, those who don't know the Father and don't do his will, those who make up their own religious system, they will never hear the words of Yeshua. They won't even be important to him.
It's time to prepare your heart for the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles. Michael Rood would like to bless you with this new teaching as a love gift for your donation in November. The Feast of Tabernacles is not for sale, and it's not on YouTube. The only way you can get it is with your love gift donation in November. Own this teaching right now when you donate $50 or more. Or donate $100 or more to get this new teaching and this handsome blessing parchment. Inscribed in both English and Hebrew, this blessing is a decorative reminder from the Torah that you are loved.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
Get the blessing parchment now, plus the Day of Tabernacles teaching, episode 11 of Michael Rood's 20-episode Love Gift Teaching series.
The latter rain will be part of the intermediate fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. Yeshua fulfilled the spring feast. He interpreted the fall feast. He fulfilled the spring feast as a suffering servant. He interpreted the fall feast. Yom Teruah, the last day and the resurrection, I will raise them up.
This offer is only available in November. Make your love gift donation now, online or by phone. Thank you for your support.
"2017, we're going to know. We are praying. We've had prophetic words, prophetic statements, visions, and dreams that have come from a source that is highly respected, that I'm waiting for more confirmation on. But our countdown to the confirmation of the covenant is what we are looking at. It's all going to come together. It's all happening right here before our eyes. And people need to get ready, okay? It's not a time to fear. It is a time to realize we have been brought to this point in time in history. We have been given the prophetic word like it's not been known before. The feast of the Lord, the prophetic shadow pictures of good things to come. I detailed in the spring feast of the Lord, the great secret of Solomon's temple, how Yeshua fulfilled the spring feast of the Lord to the very day, the very hour, the exact moment, and every detail in which we rehearsed them in the temple, because what we did in the temple is what David saw by revelation when he saw beforehand the coming of the Lord, the Messiah. He saw it beforehand. He then laid it out as part of the whole temple service. And so that's what I did. I laid that out. And then I said, he will fulfill the fall feast of the Lord. So I did the fall feast of the Lord so that people understand it. See, to me, the book of the Revelation is the easiest book in the entire Bible. It's not because it is for everyone else. It is for me, because this is where the revelation came to me. This is what I've been called to do. This is my whole life. Everything from when I was on my knees at my bed in second grade, praying that God would use me, that I want to be your servant, everything in my life boils down to where we are right now. It all comes to, this is it. And so if people just want to blow it off and think, I don't want to watch the Judges series because, it's like, this is the prophetic picture of where we are right now. Because there's no king physically present, people do what's right in their own eyes. That's why there's no unity. That is why it says in the prophecy in Isaiah that you've spent all your energy, you've done everything, it feels like nothing is accomplished, and even though Israel's not yet gathered, is it a light thing that you should be called to be a servant, to regather the remnant of Israel, and to be a light to the Gentiles? See, this is the day that we're living in. This is the light to the Gentiles, through a Jewish window, if you please. It's because to the Jews were committed the oracles of God. And it doesn't matter that as with Nehemiah and I together, that one was raised as an Orthodox Jew and I was raised as a Baptist Jew. That is so that we would get the perspectives that we can now bring together to put this whole thing in one place. As Nehemiah says, you'll watch him in our series that we do. He says, he has this minutia detail, the focus like a laser beam on these things. And he said, but you see the whole picture. You get the big picture on these things that I don't see. And I said, that's the way it is. I get a picture. I see the movie playing. That's what it is to me. We see two different things, but it's all coming together because the Almighty has called his servants together for this time, and that is what we're doing this fall. This is the culmination. This is the pinnacle of the Hebrew roots, the restoration of Israel. This is where it's all coming, because at the end of this war that's coming, that is when the confirmation of the covenant transpires on Yom Kippur. And 5 days later, the the Feast of Tabernacles, the last great day, the double portion outpouring of the Holy Spirit. This is the end of Joel's war. The Almighty turns back the enemy. He incinerates them. Their stench reaches into the heavens, and then he is going to pour out upon all flesh his Spirit. Young men will, old men will dream dreams. The young men will prophesy. It's going to be a double portion of the outpouring of the Holy Spirit. That is what Yeshua is speaking of. You know, if any man thirst, let him come unto me. He cried it out on the Hoshana Rabbah, the last great day. If any man thirst, come unto me and drink, and out of his belly will flow rivers of living water. And it says, this spake he of the Spirit, which would afterward be given, because the Spirit was not yet given, because he was not yet glorified. When he was glorified, the Spirit was poured out on Shavuot. He's speaking of the latter rain outpouring. This is what we're getting ready for. Everything is going to change. Everything is going to shake up. We have no idea where it's all going to end at the end of this year, but everything on planet Earth is getting ready to shift right now. It's not because of some cosmic, alignment of the sun or any of that's nonsense out there. No, Yeshua is not going to come back, okay? He's more than 7 years away from that. Right at this point, more than 7 years away from that. We've got a job to do, and who's doing it? This is what he said. The gospel of the kingdom that I am preaching, what I teach you, you teach others. That's what he said. That's what it's all about. And no, we want to start a new religion by isolating sound bits out of Paul. We want to go back to the Torah and get anal retentive about following every subtle nuance like that's going to get you someplace. We want to pick out a blood moon out of Joel and say that applies to lunar eclipses. It's just prophetic nonsense that's happening. This is my whole life. It boils down to now. We're going to see what the Almighty has to say, because this is the event. This is the thing that everyone needs to be together for.
As the Feast of Tabernacles approached, a village of Samaritans refused to listen to Yeshua because they wanted to do the Feast of Tabernacles their own way. Yeshua left the village to set an example that he would only do the will of his Father, regardless of who, if anyone, would follow. Like Yeshua did, we are to do things only the way our Father in heaven prescribes. We need to give up our own ways and follow him.
And see, those who don't know the Father and don't do his will, those who make up their own religious system, they will never hear the words of Yeshua. They won't even be important to him.
It's time to prepare your heart for the fulfillment of the Feast of Tabernacles. Michael Rood would like to bless you with this new teaching as a love gift for your donation in November. The Feast of Tabernacles is not for sale, and it's not on YouTube. The only way you can get it is with your love gift donation in November. Own this teaching right now when you donate $50 or more. Or donate $100 or more to get this new teaching and this handsome blessing parchment. Inscribed in both English and Hebrew, this blessing is a decorative reminder from the Torah that you are loved.
The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. The Lord turn his face toward you and give you peace.
Get the blessing parchment now, plus the Day of Tabernacles teaching, episode 11 of Michael Rood's 20-episode Love Gift Teaching series.
The latter rain will be part of the intermediate fulfillment of the fall feast of the Lord. Yeshua fulfilled the spring feast. He interpreted the fall feast. He fulfilled the spring feast as a suffering servant. He interpreted the fall feast. Yom Teruah, the last day and the resurrection, I will raise them up.
This offer is only available in November. Make your love gift donation now, online or by phone. Thank you for your support.